Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. Now, I know it's been a long time since I've made a video. I've been promising you guys one for a while now. It's been almost a year. I think maybe March, April, right around there might have been the last one I posted. So thank you all for all you guys for your continued support. You know, you contacted me on Facebook and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. But you know, a lot has happened over the course of the last year, and but here I am, and I'm kind of in a position now that I can start doing some videos for you guys. And I figured I'd start off with a dyeing video, a Material Monday, I guess, seeing as today is Monday. So what I'm doing is I'm dyeing some turkey tail feathers and some white hackle, and I want to match the turkey tail with the hackle, so I want to dye them all at the same time. But I figured I would go through the process that I do, you know, taking them out of the package, pairing them up, and then, you know, we go forward from there. So my last video was a little bit vague on some details, so this video I'm going to cover a lot more. I'm going to go more in depth, and you guys are going to see some up close shots of everything and see it live. I'm also using a new dye. This year I'm using Pro Chemical dyes. A friend of mine dyes feathers and he uses them and he gets great results, so I thought I'd give them a try, because Jacquard's, I wasn't totally happy with their dye selection. Some of the colors were really good, but you had to kind of mix them to get the right colors, and Pro Chemicals has some colors that should match up pretty close to what we want without having to mix too much. I'm also using aluminum dyeing pans, just these little flimsy turkey ones. I don't have dyeing pots just yet, so we're going to give these a try, see how it goes. First I'm starting with a test one. We're heating the water up right now to 185 degrees, and that's when we'll shut the water off, add the dye, citric acid, and let that sit while we go through the rest of the video. Alright, so this dye pot has been heating up for a little bit now, and just as you would with any normal steel pot, you want to check the temperature. You want to make sure you're at about 185 degrees. I have an electronic laser thermometer. You can get a Harbor Freight pretty cheap. I'm at 170, 178. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it fluctuates from where you shine it on this because the heat's coming through this pan. I'm going to measure off to the side of the burner. You can actually see this pan is burning already. And to the side of it, it's 168 to 169. Alright, so keep an eye on that. In the meantime, I can run through a few things with you. A couple things that are very important. I'm sure many of you have remembered some of my videos about when I had lung disease before my transplant. I always recommend a match. Some of these dyes do have fumes that come off of them that over time can be very harmful. You may not realize it, you can feel fine, but take the extra precaution. So a mask, preferably if you can get something that's got a solid filter in it and not necessarily like a paper mask, but the N95s do work well. I got a pair of rubber gloves. In this case, I think these are latex. That's what I had laying around. If you use latex, plan on using a couple of pairs. They're not very sturdy. A pair of scissors, some long tweezers. You can use tongs also if you want. And then we'll need your citric acid. So I got this on Amazon. It was like $11 for almost 2 pounds. It's like 1.88. And that'll last a long time. You don't need much. So here's my countertop spread for the night. By the way, yes, it's midnight. So these are the different individual groups of feathers that I got. The tails. There's a fourth. And then here's a fifth that's already soaking in the sink. Sorry for the camera shot there, but so the idea is to tail by tail. You want to sort them out into pairs, and then mark the stem of each pair a different mark than the pair before. So I like to use like slashes, or if it's a center, just write CNTR or CNT. Something that you'll know it's the center feather. So I've also got this is going to be our test batch right here, is this Hackle. So we'll toss that in, we'll see how the color comes out, and then we'll try turkey tails. In the meantime, I can show you the rest on how this all goes together. Alright, so the water's been boiling for a little bit, or heating up I should say. You don't want it to come to a full boil. That's 183 degrees, so about another minute or two. So I use a digital thermometer. It's got a laser on it. I got this at Harbor Freight, super cheap. Many of you know I had a lung transplant. One of the things that I got used to is wearing a mask. And especially when you're doing something like this, some of these dyes do have some pretty harmful fumes. So be smart, wear a mask. Construction breather, you got it. Something with an N95 filter, but those regular paper masks I don't recommend. You want something that's got some sort of filter in it. Gloves are a good idea, latex or nitrile gloves. I like the nitrile better. I also have some test feathers, just some goose feathers I got off of Amazon, really super cheap also. I like to use these just to test individual colors as I'm adding a dye to the pot. It's not a slow process, or not a fast process, it's pretty slow. Alright, so Pro Chemicals dyes, the ones I'm doing today, are orange peel. It's supposed to be a very, very good looking orange. Sun yellow. Sun yellow is also found in Jacquard's. I'm curious to see how the two colors compare. I will do a comparison video one of these days, perhaps another Material Monday. I'll do a comparison. I do have some Jacquard's dyes and some RIT dyes as well. So I can pick a color of all three. We'll dye some feathers and we'll see what the difference in color looks like. I'm going to do a bright red. Sky blue, that's supposed to be a nice blue for like a doctor blue, which is kind of what I've been after. I think everybody's been after that, so we'll see how that comes out. And then leaf green, which should come out close to a Highlander green. If not, we'll just add a little more to it. I'll shut the water off. You don't need much of these citric acid crystals. That might even be too much. You sprinkle that into the water. And you stir it around to get it dissolved. Let's get you a little closer. start with orange peel. I'm always looking for a good orange, especially for like doing Green Highlanders, and a good orange is hard to find. Hopefully you guys see that. Same with this, you don't need much. Like a quarter teaspoon less. So I'm just going to start with that much. That might be okay. Once you get that dye dissolved, you can go ahead and add your feathers. In this case I'm going to use Hackle, and I'll use one of those small goose feathers. You want to make sure that they're soaked. You want to soak them in water, in hot water, for a little while. Let that water get into them. And when they absorb all that water, that'll make it easier for the dye to get into them as well. If you put them in dry, you'll have lots of air pockets, you won't have consistent color. Alright, so we're going to leave those in there for a few minutes just to kind of get an idea of what's happening. See how the color is being affected. It looks like it's going to be a nice orange. I know they should stay in here quite a while, but after about 5 minutes you can get a good idea of what the color is going to come out like. Then you can make your changes. If you want it darker, or if it's not working for you enough, go ahead and add a little bit more dye. If the color you think is just too light for the time that it's been in there, go ahead and, you know, add a little bit more. It's not going to hurt it. The feathers are going to soak up as much dye as they can hold. I'm going to go ahead and add more water to this. Actually, this is not quite full enough. And there goes the white. Hold on, guys. Here. Okay. Let's give these a look. Jostle them all around in the water a little bit. Move that water around, get them in there a little, get the water in there a little more. Get that dye in there. I like the way that's coming out. I can tell it could still stay in there more, but alright. Been soaking in here for a little bit now. That's a pretty nice orange. It could stay in a little bit more. I think that's going to be a nice orange. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and throw some turkey tail in here and some hackle. Okay, so this has been sitting here for a while. Got a really nice orange. I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave these right in here, but I think that turkey tails will look great in there. So, yeah, make sure you use some towels that you know, you don't really care about, because you know, otherwise this can really make a mess. Alright, so I'm going to leave that in there. I really like the color, but we're going to heat this back up again. We won't let it get as hot because there's feathers already in there. But I did have to add some water to this. So we're going to add just a small sprinkle of the crystals. And just that little bit of dye. It's okay if you over dye. If you put too much in, the color's only going to soak up as much as it can. The color is the color. I'm just going to set these aside so they don't burn the other piece up. Alright, now what I'm going to do is just pairing up feathers that are in the water and choosing which ones I'm going to have to be orange. So these have been soaking for a couple of hours. Water's cooled down now. Yep. Real nice and clean. Ready for the dye pot. So I think I'm going to have color number 3. And one of my centers. They're a little bit shorter. I had trimmed them down to get rid of all that lower part that we don't normally use. Pretty much down to 0 on the feather. Back over to here. $154, so we got a little ways to go. I'll be back with you guys as soon as that's done. Alright, I think that's warm enough. That was at 181. So, let's grab the that center. Let's go paper. Trying to do right now is just get all the air bubbles out from under it. Each feather can collect air bubbles underneath it. I also get lots of air bubbles within the fibers. And you can probably see. And on here you can see the air bubbles in the feather. That can cause discoloration in the final product. So I'm going to try and just shake the feather a little bit, open up all those fibers, get that air out. Alright, so now we got our hackle. And what you do after it's soaked for a while, run it under some hot water again and try and get all the floofy part right in here. All this fuzziness that we strip away later. Try and get as much up in there as you can. The more water you can get in there, you can even use a little bit of Dawn dish soap. The more water and soap you can get into here, the more access the dye will have to make this a nice full color all the way through. That's kind of the same thing. You want to shake it around a little bit, move those fibers around, move those feathers, get as much dye into there as you can. Better if you can keep them away from the turkey. You may wind up with hackle prints on your turkey if they're touching. All right. I think those are good and set. I'm happy that the air bubbles are to a minimum, and the hackle's in kind of in its own spot. So looks good. Let's take a look at the other aspect of this. Doesn't go any higher. Damn it. Alright. I'm not really able to see me so much, but you'll be able to at least see my hands and feathers. I'm away from the dye pot. I can take the mask off for a minute. So the idea here is before these get soaked, I'm going to try to pair up the rest of these. Then you can kind of stack them for the time being over one side. They'll all stay together. Scoop out anything else if you want. And we'll keep that goose feather in there. That'll be a test feather. Put this one too. So I was using this Dawn power wash to just quickly wash the feathers. I don't know if it works or not. I've never done it. I usually just use regular Dawn, but it's what I had. I'm going to pour it for the light. Alright. So this set of tails here, I want to look at each feather and determine the curve on them and then pair them with the opposite feather. If you have a full tail, you should have that equality, left and right. Mostly. And depending on the curve, you can sort them into lefts and rights, and then you can go ahead and pair them. Good way to see if they're a good match pair. Lay them back to back. Make sure the stems are together, and then look at the length of each side. Now if you're looking at the length here, The one in the back is longer length than the one in the front, so. Another pair. Close, but I would almost pair those. Those are so close. Yeah, let's go ahead and pair those. Alright, so that's a pair. This one here, even though it's filthy, we'll get to washing in a minute. This one's even on both sides, so this would be a center. So that one can go by itself. I don't know if there will be one that'll match this. That's huge. Alright, so we'll set this one aside. That'll just be what we call an extra, I guess. And we'll do something with it later. This one here. You can spread the fibers out and see it there. It's a little longer on the inside. But and on the inside they're kind of close, but not enough. So I don't know, I'll set that one aside as an extra. So that there, that's pretty close. So we'll pair those. And the rest, kind of oddballs. These two are close enough, I think. I'll pair them too. And then that'll be our final pair, I guess. And we have 3 spare rights at the moment. Alright, so we'll set those aside and see if maybe we can come up with a pair later on out of these. So, next step here. Scissor, Sharpie. I'm going to use a smaller Sharpie for now. So, we just want to go through and trim to about there. Just to about where the usable stuff starts. Like, see that little fluff in there? You don't really need that, so you'll never use that. You might be able to use that on some very small salmon flies. I'll do the same thing to the other. I'm going to label them on a slash. So you each get a pair of slashes on them. and leave them together. Next pair. And I'm just cutting the stem off into the garbage. Nose into the bath. And so on. So just repeat that. Use different Roman numerals throughout your sets. Change the angle on your slashes from right to left. It'll be much easier that way. Then you can go ahead and sort them into the individual dyeing pots, obviously dry, and that way you'll have your groups for each color. Alright, so this is the orange that we did earlier. I'm pretty happy with that result. So I went ahead and cleaned and paired all the other feathers. So we have individual piles of pairs for each color. We're going to do 8 colors. And since we already have orange hackle, we're going to do some more orange feathers. So we're going to do bright red, orange peel, sun yellow, leaf green, sky blue, brilliant blue, I think this is hot pink or pink, hot pink, and black. Lots of boiling. I'll let you know when it's done. Alright, it might be a little loud. I had to put the fume hood on. Alright, so you can see I've got red, orange, yellow, and green. I feel like that green is going to come out a little bit too dark, but that's alright. I have another green that I can use, but letting them soak. Here's the others that we made earlier. I'm pretty happy with that color. Alright, so here's the last of the colors. Green and black. And it is now 4:05 a.m. So I've gone through a lot of this. I've dyed the rest of the feathers. They've all been cleaned and are now on the drying rack. So let's take a quick walk over. I'll show you what I've done so far. These are the feathers all laid out. That's the red. Came out rather nice. It's the sun yellow, which I really like as well. I went with the one green, leaf green, and that was a bit on the dark side. That's the sky blue, which is a little darker than I was really hoping for. So I pulled them a little bit early. As you can see, the stems are still rather light, but I'm hoping when they dry they're a little bit on the lighter side. But I may have to figure something else out and try different colors to try and get that Dr. Blue that we all look for. There's the hot pink. I know Gert. I know. Gert from Europe would probably be screaming at the TV right now that pink does not belong in salmon flies. But these are for a special project for later on. So I did a bit more orange. And then we'll head back over here. I want to show you what this green looks like. And then I'll set up the camera so you guys can see how I, so you guys can see how I take them from the die and get them to the table. It's pretty simple. You just rinse them in cold water and then just go lay them out. But this is the green. Much, much closer to the Highlander green that I wanted. Still a little dark though. I've tried the Highlander green from Vineyards, and I don't know, I don't really care for it, but maybe on my next batch I'll do some of that. And I'll have plenty of different colored greens. The black is in the sink because it sprung a leak from being used 3 times. This was the tin that the orange was in. So we did the test orange, and then I did a regular full batch of orange, and then I put this in here. And it wound up springing a leak on the stove. So, in short, I don't think these are great for dyeing. Will they work? Yes. But there's a little bit of a headache that goes along with it. And I did notice that these are lightened. These are thin enough that the pan will actually mold around the burner. And that can create burnt spots, and you can also set off the fire alarms at 2:30 in the morning. So there's that. Other than that, yeah, there's everything's just about done. So let me set you up on the tripod, and I'll show you how I wash up the feathers. Alright, so all of these turkey pans come with the plastic top. Kind of great to transport things to the sink without getting dye all over the place. So first I'll just take them and transfer them into this pan. I didn't use very much dye at all when I put this green in, so a little bit goes a long way. Remember that. So this is dark meadow green that I mixed with some yellow. I'm sorry I don't have a ratio for you. I kind of just do it on a whim. I need to learn to actually take measurements and start writing things down so I can share with you guys what my formula is. Especially once I find something I like. Alright. Now I'll just take these. Run them through some cold water. I'm letting the black sit there for a while. Right now it's looking more like a gray, which is nice. I might pull a couple of pairs out so I'll have a gray. And I wring them out. Same thing with the turkey tail. Some of the color will come out. Don't get nervous. See the color come out. That's just excess color on the feather that's coming off. As you can see, there's still plenty of color to do. There's a pair of black. Just rinse those really quick. As you can see, it's more like a gray. little water back in the black because it's leaking out. Alright. So now we'll take these over to the table. So as you can see, I'm running out of room. I'll put the slike right up here. I like to just flick the feather a little bit. It opens up some of the fibers. And it'll be drying a little bit quicker. So I'm going to take the green Hackle first. Spread that over here. Make a little room here if you can. And then as these dry, you can start to spread them out more, which will help them dry faster. Try not to have them touching or overlapping because those colors will be contaminated by the other. And there's the greens. There's two cats in this house, so I'm going to have to cover this. I don't think I have enough black that'll be a problem. I should be able to get them all in here. And we'll let them dry. I'd say overnight, but it is now 20 after 4, so that's it. And you lay them out, you let them dry. And once they dry, you can collect them and then you take them over and steam them. And I'll do that in the next part of the video. So don't go away. Alright, here we are over at the drying table. So as you can see, I've got everything laid out. So most of these are dry. They're still a little bit damp in spots, so it's going to sit here for a little longer under the cardboard. But I want to show you, after you've spread them all out and they've dried, the next real step is kind of preening them back into shape. So you can see here, you know, it's a little on the messy side. So you just go with the direction of the fibers. And you gotta do this with every feather. You go through and you'll get it relatively nice and straight. It'll look pretty good. And I'm sure you can see on the table I've already gone through and done quite a few of them. One of these dark green ones. It should be relatively easy, and they should just kind of fall back into place in the shape of the feather. But you'll notice though, right along the edges there's a little bit of waviness to them. So what we'll do is we'll take these and we'll get a pot of boiling water. Doesn't have to be a big pot. You can even use a clothing steamer, but you do it feather by feather anyway. So for me, a boiling pot of water works just fine. And you take the feather and you'll hold it over the steam. So we're going to head over to the stove. I'm going to finish preening all of these, and then we'll head over to the stove. Here's some of the Hackle. That's the orange that we dyed. It turned out great. And these are really nice, short fibered but long feathered hackles as well. So those are going to be really, really nice for our flies. And the one I am a little disappointed in is the black. Even though I let it sit longer, it still came out looking gray, so I think these are going to have to get re-dyed. But like I said earlier in the video, I am going to keep a couple of pairs in this gray. But the Hackle itself is much too light. Though I do have black Hackles, so I might keep this as a gray. I don't know. Maybe I'll do half black, half gray, just to see what happens with it. But black dyes are very difficult to work with. That pink came out nice and vibrant. I'm happy about that. That'll be good for the project that I've got coming up. And these are still a little bit moist. If you start to preen them and they don't flatten out and marry together, it's still too moist. So some of these will stay here. There's the green, which actually came out pretty nice. I'm happy with that. The blue, probably to achieve the color that was intended by the company that makes the dye, probably could have stayed in longer. But right down through here, this light blue is actually really, really nice. I'm quite happy with that. It's still a little on the dark side, but for what I want, I think that'll still work out really nicely. And then here's the Hackles, which are still really damp, so that's going to lighten up a little bit also. Alright, let's let these dry just a little bit longer. I'll go through and preen the rest of them, and then we'll see you over at the stove so we can go through and steam them, and I can show you the process, and I can show you the feathers and how they actually do change quite a bit. And a feather like this, you see the waviness on the outside right here. We can straighten all of that right out. Alright, be right back. Alright guys, so here we are, all the feathers dried, preened, and paired up into color sets. I'll insert a picture right here of all the sets so you can see what they look like. Okay. So now we're going to take these and we're going to steam them. You can use a clothing steamer, which is honestly probably a better way of doing it, but I don't have a clothing steamer, so I'm going to go with this method, which is basically just a boiling pot. Sorry about the lighting, this is about as good as I've got at the moment. No, it's a little better. Alright, so I'm only going to do one set of the feathers with you guys. I just don't really see, you know, having to do all the feathers. Once you see one set, you'll kind of get an idea of how I do it and, you know, how it works. It's kind of the same thing as steaming any GP tippets. Start with this set first. Now they do mostly look pretty good, but as you can see, there's a little waviness to them right here. So we can take that waviness right out. We can actually make this a little bit more full. You can see the greens right along the edge. Some of these aren't quite marrying up. That's kind of sad, but this little bit of waviness right along here. That's kind of what we want to get out, and it'll actually give these a little bit fuller of a look as well. So let's get this water up to a boil, and we'll use the steam off of that to just reshape our feathers. Alright, we got the water up to a boil. Now I did kind of a little test run as far as being able to see. The backdrop is kind of less than ideal, so you might have a little bit trouble seeing, but hopefully it does come through. Now you can see all the little bit of waviness along this feather. This one's really not in bad shape other than these missing pieces, but as far as like waviness and straggling fibers, it's really not all that bad. But we still want to make it look a little bit better. And just by adding a little bit of steam to it, without even touching it, these ripples are starting to go away. And you can make all those fibers stand right out nicely. And you get a true idea of how long each fiber is. Now I'm just using part of my finger, just a little, the fingerprint pad on my thumb, and I'm just gently stroking those fibers out while adding moisture to them. Make sure you can see that one. That's got a bit of a wave to it right here. And a little bit along this edge. I know a lot of guys are going to say that you can even iron them, put a towel over them and then iron them. You know, you can use that clothing steamer, like I mentioned earlier. But if you don't have a clothing steamer, and I don't, I just use a pot. This one's not terribly bad. Right there, that was just one fiber that was out of place. So you just take it and just move it back into where it belongs. All you gotta do is just stroke with the fibers with 2 fingers to get them to marry up and get them back into place. And if you want to just spread them out a little bit. That'll make some good wings. Good yellow. I'm trying to do each color so you guys can see the variation in color. Some colors might be easier for you guys to see. See, this is down here is those softer feathers. You're not really going to use very many of those. Maybe in some mixed wing flies you might be able to. But if you're doing larger married wing flies, those aren't going to be much good to you. What you want is these feathers from about here to here. These tips here nor there, but right out to like here, these start to curve up. So this is the section you mainly want. I like the hot pink. I know, Gert, I know. Not for salmon flies, for artistic flies. Don't worry, buddy. This one was already in pretty good shape. Everything went back together rather well as far as marrying goes after being wet. And you can see so this was a sky blue, and as we discussed before in the video, I chose to pull them a little bit early. Now it's the color that it's close to the color that I want. These will be very usable, but you can see there is some color variation in that feather. I think those are overlapping feather barbs. Or just the way the dye took to the feather. And if they were left in there longer, they would be darker. You'll see in some of the other one. I'll show you another one that you can really see the light and the dark, and you can see the color it was going for. But you know, when you think about it and you marry these down into a wing, you're only going to see a couple of strips in the wing anyway, so you know, this color variation is not really going to be noticed all that much, if at all. Here's the other blue. This one you can see here, there's some dark around the tips, some dark coming in here. If left longer, this would have been dark all the way through, so this one, we might see that one. I might have to re-dye these. Or I might go with these. These were just a kind of trial run to see if I can get that light blue color out of them. And my next batch, maybe I'll do a different type of dye. I have some RIT dye, and I think I have one color that's like Tennessee Sky or something, and that one was very light when I did my Hackle, maybe a year ago. There's that one. And here's that orange. I like this orange. This came out really well. For those of you wondering, these sets will not be for sale. However, I will be dyeing some more in the near future, and those sets will be for sale. I have another color set that I want to dye for myself just to kind of stock up, because right now I don't have anything. I've got scraps from before I sold everything, and that's how I was able to put together that fly that you guys saw on eBay, the Champion. By steaming them, you're just adding moisture back to the feather. I know they were just dyed and everything, but the drying process is a little bit different than with steam. So adding that moisture back to these really just relaxes all the fibers and kind of gets them back into their natural state. And we'll do one more. We'll do a red. So this one, you can see it's got some rougher stuff. This side, it's a bit thin right through here, so we'll try and straighten those up a bit as well. Couple overlapping fibers. There you go. This one's ready to get filed away. And then one of the gray. There we are. So that's pretty much it. That's steaming feathers, that's dyeing feathers. That's the process. And this is the result after all that work. Now don't be surprised when it takes a long time. This is hours and hours of work. I was dyeing for almost 6 hours last night. So, if you guys are going to get into dyeing your own feathers, it's a lot of fun. The results are great. When you finish your product and you take those feathers and start tying a fly with them and you create something, there's really, it's awesome. It's kind of like, duck hunting and then using the feathers from the duck to tie a fly, use the fly to catch a fish, so on and so on. It's rewarding. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. I do giveaways. One of these sets may or may not be a giveaway coming up. My next video will be the Champion. So that will be coming out in a couple of days. Keep an eye out for that. And until then, I'll see you guys. Tight legs. Alright guys, so we're just about to a boil now. So what you're going to do is, it's really, really simple. I mean, these feathers have already been preened out from how they were when they were wet. So as long as you just kind of stroke them like this, usually 2 fingers. I like to use this. You can see where the ink is, where the dye is rather. Just go in the direction of the fibers. You only need a few seconds over the steam. Hopefully in this lighting you guys can see the feather well. Once you've got a little steam on it, go ahead and start kind of preening them out just a little bit more. And just take your finger and rub along it, outward in the direction of the fibers, and you can see them almost open up. Now you can get a good idea of the fiber length on these. That's pretty good length fiber. Alright, so that's the blue. This one's in pretty good shape already. There you go. This is one of the pinks that I already did. Just a lighter green. This one I think could have dyed a little bit longer. I may do these again. As you can see, the color is not quite consistent. One of the dark greens, which I'm sure you can see right there, that waviness along the edge. Right here, this edge is kind of folded up under, so we're going to try to open that all back up. This is kind of folded here. And down here, the likelihood of using those, slim to none. If you're tying small nymphs, maybe you can use it as, you can wrap it as a body. I don't know. Use it for some sort of wings or something, but for salmon flies, that just would not be used. There we go. You can see the marks from the lower feathers, the smaller ones. These days it's hard to come by feathers that don't do that. Alright, yellow. There's the yellow. I'm quite happy with that. A lot of good usable feather there. Now you notice I'm not consistently holding over it when I'm working on it. I'll move it away from the steam. Otherwise you wind up getting too much steam into them and then they wind up wet and then you're back into a drying situation. You guys can, I wouldn't be offended if you guys fast forwarded. I know this is kind of monotonous, but I kind of want you guys to get the full scope of what it takes to do this and to do it right. Several of these colors I think I will re-dye just because I want them darker. Or like the green, that light green was kind of patchy, so that definitely needs to be re-dyed. There it is. This one's already in pretty good shape, so we'll just work the edge a little bit. Straighten that one out. So everybody always says they want, you know, they want center tail feathers. Well, yes, center tail feathers are great. You know, you've got even amounts on either side, and, you know, if you have a good strain of birds, you can get pretty long feathers, but I don't believe these are heritage or anything like that, but if you use these side tail feathers, I mean, look how long that fiber is. That's an 8/0 hook all day. And these side tails are just as good, if not better, because they are a little bit softer than the main centers. Part of it. That one I guess I'll either have to work with when I get to it, or maybe just strip the one out because it might wind up looking twisted. Even this feather, it's not an immediate side tail, but there's a lot of length right there. So you have all your large flies right here, then you can get into your smaller flies over here. So lots of usable feather in there. This is close to the center. This is still off to the side just a little bit. But you've got lots of long, really nice long fibers on both sides of this. That could almost be considered a center. But they're off just a little bit. The right side's longer than the left. You know, it looks like a thinner feather. It doesn't look so wide, but there's lots of very long fibers in there. Oh, sorry. This doesn't open. This one won't open up like the other larger feathers, but a little rough around the edges. That one isn't the best. A lot of broken tips up in here, but I can work with it. Still lots of usable feather over here. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these. I still have 5 more sets to go through, but you know, it'll go much quicker. I just, you know, I wanted to post these videos so you guys could see, you know, everything that's involved in the process, from taking the feathers when you get them basically right from the bird, because those were not clean, obviously. So taking them right from the bird, going into the bath, and then how they're dyed, sorted, and dried. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Alright. So, I really enjoyed making this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have any other comments or tips that you might recommend to me, feel free to leave it in the comment below. I really don't mind. I'm always up to learn something new. So, with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. I'm going to have a lot of new videos coming up. Should be relatively consistent from here on. My next video will be coming out in just a couple of days. I'll be tying the captain. So keep an eye out for that. Should be out, I'm hoping, tomorrow afternoon. That will be Tuesday. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great night. Happy tying and tight lines. See ya.